Theater Education Department here at Utah State University, and this is my project that I've worked on for the last little bit more than a year with my mentor, Matt Omasta. And we worked together to put together like proposals and tons of like institutional review board things with the school, and it's finally ready this weekend. So that's very exciting because I've been working on it for a very long time. And I'm very excited. And so we started the process with the research team to get this show together earlier this year in 2019. Me and a team of 5 researchers all interviewed 10 different people from Cache Valley that were LGBTQIA+, with varying backgrounds and experiences with religion and with spirituality. So we gathered those stories and we transcribed them and we condensed them once they were recorded, and as a team we turned those transcripts into a verbatim script. So we took exactly what those people were saying and we made a script out of it, and this is what we're going to show you today, which is very exciting. I'm just going to keep saying the word exciting. And so we came together about 2 weeks ago with an ensemble of 5 queer people to put these stories on stage, and that's not a very long time to rehearse, and some of them don't have very much experience in theater, and so they worked very hard, and I'm very, very proud of them. And today, they will be representing stories that were told in the interviews that are not necessarily their own. Some could be their own, some may not be. Some of these people weren't interviewed, but they all do come from some kind of religious experience, and it's an all queer ensemble, so that's great, we love that. And just a reminder to turn off your cell phones, and please enjoy Balancing Act, an exploration of the queer religious experience.
Hello, my name is Cassidy. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. To be sure that I have an accurate record of today's conversation, I'm going to supplement my notes by audio recording our interview. Is this okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. I need verbal confirmation.
Yes.
Tell me about how your gender, sexual, or romantic identity shifted your views, if at all, about important things in your life.
It was very awkward because growing up I loved Christmas a lot, and because my parents were very religious, a lot of it was tied into religion for me. It was very much a season of trying to navigate my feelings about religion and Christianity, and my feelings about myself. And a lot of really popular Christmas songs that are also religious, a lot of my favorite ones. I'm like, I like these songs, but also, it's a little awkward.
I've always had this love-hate relationship with God. The Judeo-Christian God we're also familiar with, because part of me wants to believe that my family believes in him or her or them or whoever they are, and that they're a good entity. But at the same time, people take that God and use it for heinous purposes.
Can you please describe your religious or spiritual beliefs, if any, and discuss how they evolved over time?
I used to be very devout Mormon. Went to church every Sunday, did all the activities, was going to seminary.
What is seminary exactly?
It's an LDS religion course that teenage members take in high school to learn about scriptures like the Book of Mormon or the Bible.
My family is Mormon. I still consider that a part of me. Kind of my identity, but kind of not. Almost all of my family is LDS.
I grew up in what my family likes to call culturally Catholic.
When I was a kid, church was kind of like school. Like, I would just go and they'd tell me stuff and ask questions. I'd only answer because I wanted them to think I was smart.
We didn't do all the things Catholics did, but we did celebrate the main holidays, and I guess I believe in angels.
I don't think I really believed in anything when I was a kid.
I've always been Christian. Not LDS, just normal Christian. I think the correct term is Assemblies of God.
I've lived in Utah my entire life, and it can be so exhausting because it feels like everyone here is just trying to make you be Mormon.
I would still say that I'm still grounded in Mormon ideology, Christian ideology. Like, I still believe in God and Jesus. It's more rooted in my spirituality than my religion because I don't actively participate in the religion.
Until I was about 12, my family was active in the LDS church. That was before I realized I was queer. It felt like no matter what I did in the eyes of the church, it wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. That constant pressure to do more and be better and all that, the weird pressure to turn over all of your choices and decision making to God. And I'm like, no. I'm a person. I don't want to be a puppet of some higher being. I want to be myself. I don't have to get rid of my identity just to make it to heaven. This was before I even realized I was queer. I was just like, I don't fit in with the rest of these people, and I'm never going to be the perfect Molly Mormon, and I don't think I want to be.
So how do you identify?
I'm gay.
I am queer.
I'm asexual and aromantic.
I'm queer, I'm not binary, this is my name, these are my pronouns, I'm more of a dog person. I am polyamorous. I have 4 partners.
I'm bisexual.
I'm not binary.
I'm also non-binary.
Oh, I'm a girl.
I want to date men, as a bisexual, but I didn't suddenly lose my interest in women or non-binary people.
I figured out that asexuality was a thing, and now that I know about it, I have no idea how I'm going to date anybody.
I identify as agender and transgender and bisexual, and I'm also disabled.
I have this coffee mug now that says ace and anxious, and it literally describes me beautifully.
I'm a very out and proud queer person, and also a gender diverse person.
Going back for just a bit, what does it mean to be non-binary?
It means that
It means that I'm not a man or a woman. I might be somewhere in between or something completely different, just not one of those 2 things.
Have you ever felt erased or in any other way oppressed because of your gender, sexual, or romantic identity?
there's someone that I take a class with, and they've made it pretty clear to me that they're not queer in any way.
I am not queer in any way.
And they've also made it clear to me that they're very supportive of President Trump.
And I'm very supportive of President Trump.
And that's not something that I'm a fan of. In that same situation, I ended up having to out myself as trans, and since then this person's tried really hard to be friendly to me in a way that's pretty uncomfortable to me. It's because I get the feeling that they're trying to prove to themselves that they're not transphobic, and that they're also trying to prove to me that not all Trump supporters are bad people. Sure, but you're still supporting somebody who's mean to me. This person had no interest in me before, but after I came out, they were sitting by me in class and actively talking with me in conversation.
You go to the bathroom, and there's a men's bathroom, and there's a women's bathroom, and that's it. I'm not either of these things. I just need to pee. Or you see grading, back in the papers or textbooks or whatever, and it's always he or she, or the S/HE. There are rarely any acknowledgments of non-binary identities.
I feel erased, mostly in relation to gender identity, but also in relation to sexual identity, because the world is so built for heterosexual and cisgender people. So anyway,
Sorry to interrupt, but what does it mean to be cisgender?
Of course. Cisgender just means that you identify with the gender you were assigned to at birth.
Got it. Please continue.
So anyway, last semester I took a marriage and family class, and I don't think they mentioned queer couples even once. The book we read was from 1999, and we had a discussion at the end of the semester that was like, reflect on this class and what you learned. To me, it didn't really matter, because there are so many things that aren't taken into consideration when you're only looking at heterosexual couples. They did mention queer people like once or twice, but it was always in a way that was like, obviously, no one in here is queer. So we're just talking about this odd group of people that can't possibly exist in this 200-person classroom. In those situations, I feel erased.
It's been really hard to find a church since I've come out as LGBTQ. There are none that are affirming in the Valley. Well, there are some, like the Lutheran Church and the Presbyterian Church and the one other one is LGBTQ affirming, but that's it. There's 3. There's literally 3 in the whole Valley, and without having a religion or a physical place to go, that kind of took away my relationship with God.
When I was a freshman in college, I had severe depression. I was very suicidal and things like that. But fully pulling away from religion, losing everything, that was the best thing that could have happened to me at that point. I would argue that losing religion saved my life.
It's just been a really hard year. I've lost a lot of relationships without any real closure. I had gone on study abroad, and I got a message from my friend. She's in the church, and she's an ally on campus.
They won't let me be a youth pastor if I'm an ally on campus.
Okay. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
I work in the martial arts industry, and it's very conservative. As a very out and proud queer person and a gender diverse person, balancing that and the public's perception of what a martial arts studio should be and how I conduct my studio can often come to interesting results. One big thing that happened last year was after, I've been out as bisexual, but when I came out as transgender, I came out publicly. I came out to all of my clients and students, and there ended up being a fallout between me and my master instructor that I wasn't expecting, as I'd already talked with him about what I was going to do, and he seemed on board with it. That really sucked because, in a way, I lost a lot of my support networks for teaching martial arts. I ended up losing a lot of students and clients.
Have people treated you differently before and after you revealed your gender, sexual, or romantic identity to them?
I had to look at every relationship in my life and think, who would I be willing to lose?
This has been really on my mind lately because my parents will be up here for graduation in 2 days. I have a lot of thoughts on the role my family and parents will play in the future because I don't want to have to cut them out of my life. That's not something anyone wants to do unless things are really, really bad and you don't have a choice. But I also want to feel respected and safe.
I came out to my sister. She is very actively LDS. I just kind of explained everything. And then, at the end, I said, "Are you going to say anything? What does this mean?"
Well, I'm Mormon, and that's never going to change. I don't really know what you want me to say.
Then she got out of the car, and we didn't talk again for 3 months.
That November was when the LDS Church basically announced,
LGBT people are apostates, and are sins of the Father against the children.
bullshit. This is what I expected, but I'm mad about it. Whatever. Then, I got on Facebook, and my mom had reposted something that could be basically summed up as,
Shut up or get out. If you believe in the church, you'll follow the church, and if you don't believe in the church, you don't get an opinion on the church.
oh, okay. So I just came out to you recently, and now you're telling me to shut up and that my opinion doesn't matter? Then I checked Facebook again later.
Does anybody have the link to actually read it?
So she hadn't even read it before she said all those things, because she was so devout to her church and not to her child that she had to defend the church at all costs before she even knew what she was talking about.
I was getting ready for the date, and I just go upstairs and I just walk into my parents' room and I say, I'm going on a date. It's with a girl. And they just look up from what they're doing and they're like,
Yes? And? What are you declaring? It's fine. Go on your date.
it really resonated with me. Knowing that I'm lucky enough that I have a family that is very accepting. And knowing that living in Utah, I'm probably one of the only few gay people that have no issues, no qualms about being who they are.
I went to a family funeral in November of this year, and that was pretty rough. Because all my family's LDS, and if they're not LDS, then they're conservative. Nobody gendered me correctly the entire time, even though we gave them the full disclaimer in advance. And I don't know, they did use my chosen name, so that was nice, but it was hard because I found out midway through that my cousin had rape charges against them, and everybody was accepting him as a normal member of the family and treating him fine, but I was being ostracized. Like, I don't trust my family at all. They don't value anyone except for men and the church. Because if you can seriously pay for my cousin's lawyer and be nice to him all the time, but treat me like a black sheep and a shit just for expressing who I am as a person who isn't harming anyone, that was so hurtful. So, my relationship with my family, it's entirely changed since I came out.
Have you ever experienced a situation in which your queer identity and religious beliefs clash?
There's a lot in Mormon doctrine, a whole document, a proclamation on the family that essentially lays out that you are supposed to be cisgender and straight, men and women are different, and they're supposed to be different, and that the ultimate reason we're here is to come together, get married, and make babies.
We further declare that God has commanded that the sacred powers of procreation are to be employed only between man and woman lawfully wedded as husband and wife.
My sexual identity came into question. Not with my religion, but with the religion of my family.
The doctrine of the church makes it very clear that God does not love me the same way he loves you, because I am queer and you are not.
I had to realize that the religion that I was raised in didn't fit with me, couldn't coincide with my sexuality. And I wasn't going to stay in a religion and hide that part of me just to stay in that one religion.
I heard my mom talking, and she said it indirectly, but essentially she said that she wouldn't come to my wedding if I were to marry a man. Which hurt. You know, that somehow she was so opposed to my identity that she couldn't support me as her son. Like my sexuality was more pervasive or more important than my identity as her son.
Society is built around this idea that you'll ultimately be fulfilled by a romantic relationship. Like, you're not a full adult until you've been in a relationship.
My best friend went on her mission, and I came out to her right as she came home. We had been best friends for 6 or 7 years, and after she got home, she had her wedding. After the wedding was over, her mom came up to me and said,
Oh, I actually need you to go get the food ready.
They don't want me in the pictures. I think that was directly correlated to the fact that I'm gay, and they didn't know how to navigate that at their Mormon wedding.
In each is a beloved spirit son or daughter of heavenly parents, and as such each has a divine nature and destiny. Gender is an essential characteristic of individual premortal, mortal, and eternal identity and purpose. By divine design, fathers are to preside over their families in love and righteousness. and are responsible to provide the necessities of life and protection for their families. Mothers are primarily responsible for the nurture of their children.
I remember there was this one time when we were in class, and we were talking about marriage and family, and they were talking about
There are only two genders, and marriage is between a man and a woman.
things like that. I think I stuck to the bathroom for half of it. The other half I just had to look at my phone. I had an anxiety attack over it. I was overwhelmed, I was frustrated and heartbroken and angry. I was so overwhelmed with emotion because it was so sad to see it being preached to just like this obvious thing and for everyone to just nod and agree. As if it isn't something that doesn't hurt, as if it isn't something that hurts so many people.
I had to really look at what I believed and looking at the church and analyzing what they taught, and there was a lot that I didn't agree with. There's a lot of good values that it teaches, and so a lot of good people come out of it, but there's a lot about gender roles that I don't agree with that are very strict. And there's a lot of pressure for a girl to be a stay-at-home mom, and she has 6 kids, and she just stays at home with the kids, and that's the mom's job. And I think that excludes a lot of people. People who don't want to have kids, people who can't have kids, people who are queer and don't want to be in a hetero relationship to have kids, and girls who don't want to stay at home, who want to have a job, but there is such a backlash in the community. My mom even talks about it, about how if you go to work and you spend so much time away from your kids, that you are failing as a mother because of it. Oh my God. That's some of the aspects of the church that I do not agree with.
As someone who identifies with literally none of that, I'm not a woman, I don't want to have my own kids, I don't want to have sex and give birth. Maybe children someday, but not ones that I carry. I've been in direct violation of these things that you say.
I've talked to a lot of my friends that are LGBTQ and still part of the LDS faith. They talk to me about how they have to separate their faith from the church. Their faith, how they believe, how they pray, and that it doesn't align with the strict rules of the church.
I can't have my name associated with something that's hurting so many people.
We warn that individuals who violate covenants of chastity, who abuse spouse or offspring, or who fail to fulfill family responsibilities will one day stand accountable before God. Further, we warn that the disintegration of the family will bring upon individuals, communities, and nations the calamities foretold by ancient and modern prophets. We call upon responsible citizens and officers of government everywhere to promote those measures designed to maintain and strengthen the family as the fundamental unit of society. Close of statement.
And so I gave myself a break, where I took the label of Mormon and LDS off my shoulders, and it was such a relief. It was massive, because I had built my entire identity around it.
How do you currently interact with religion, if at all?
I would say there was a period of time when I considered returning back to the LDS faith, but, I opted not to.
Right now, I consider myself anti-LDS, as the church is an institution, but not necessarily anti-LDS people.
Even though I'm angry at the church and I don't consider myself Mormon anymore, my beliefs are still valid. Because I realized my sexuality wasn't in a box and my spirituality didn't need to be either. I could pick and choose things and create my own version of magic.
I don't need an institution or organization or group to tell me what's right and wrong. To me, if what you're doing is hurting yourself or another individual, you probably shouldn't do it, And yeah, there are exceptions to every rule, but it's just about treating people with love and respect.
Please tell me about a time when you experienced or saw something that resonated with your queer identity.
Yeah, okay. I'm deciding. Recently, I went to Nottingham, which was really cool. I love Nottingham, and we found this local record shop, and Nottingham is in England, which is a different country. And so we found this local record shop, and above it there was this little concert venue, kind of like Y Sound here in the Valley, and there was a bunch of locals there, and there was these few girls, and they were just sitting around, drinking, talking, and so I go over, and I introduce myself, and we just started talking. And later in the conversation, because we just kept talking, one of the girls told me that she was gay. One of the other girls was bisexual like myself, and one of them was straight. And they were just hanging out in the most normal setting. Like, it was just the most normal, and it wasn't a queer get-together or anything. It was the most normal and relaxed, and they were just wearing what they were wearing and being themselves in a normal setting. And I don't think that happens a lot here. And if it does, it's for a very specific reason, or you're already friends kind of a thing. But these girls, it was just the most relaxed and natural. I think that was the moment, like the strongest moment where I felt accepted, because I am this person and I can be chill about it because they're chill about it. Sometimes I don't like just putting it out there. So when I'm with a group of people, I don't like to talk about it. But I think at some point, it needs to be addressed. I don't know, but with these girls, it was the most normal and natural. I think that was the moment. I felt the most comfortable in a group, just being myself than I did in that moment. Is that a good experience?
Images or lines or scenes in the play that stood out to you, that were strong, things that made you think, things that you discovered, maybe things that you learned. That's a lot of words, but latch on to one of those things that you just said, like learning, images, something that stood stood out to you, and I'll ask you to share that in a second, but we'll have the cast.
Hi, my name is Megan Codling. My pronouns are she, her.
My name is Garret Haeck. My pronouns are he, him.
My name's Llewynn Roberts, my pronouns are they, them.
I'm Tate, and my pronouns are she, her, or they, them.
I'm Bryson, Labar, and I use they, them.
Okay. Is there anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
What was the big cluster in the middle where you guys were all like doing these shapes?
Yeah, for the last proclamation part. Yeah.
For the hierarchy, I think someone, like one of the other people helping us, would always called it fear tableau, that it was just, we all just kind of went into these positions just to kind of evoke this feeling of just fear, of just, like, I don't know how else to describe it, if anyone else knows that.
Yeah, if there's, let's right now bring up things like specifically that you thought of, and then we'll switch to a section where you can ask questions of the cast directly, right? Over here.
Hi, I'm Cosette. Gosh, good job, you guys. You made me cry. Okay, so I have a very interesting perspective on this because I am LDS. And I love my church and I love God a lot, but the person I believe who God is isn't how people in my church, I think, portray him.
Totally.
I don't think that my beliefs, I don't think people from my beliefs really portray what I believe in a good way.
Yeah, that's a good
But I'm
point.
still a member of the church because I still love God, because I still see him. I see him in theater.
Yeah.
Literally, I saw him in what you performed.
We love
Like,
that. Thank you so
literally.
much. We really appreciate
Like,
it.
literally.
Yeah.
My question, I guess, is I also have such a real love for people, you know? For Bryson, you're my best friend, you know? Literally. And I've loved you since I've met you. And I value friendship so much, and I care about my friends so much. How do I let my friends know that I love them without them thinking I'm trying to push my faith on them? How do I express what I believe in, and how close I am with my beliefs without making them think that I hate them? I don't want people to think that I hate them.
Yeah, I think that's a strong question, and I think that piece maybe poses that question for a lot of the people here in the audience too. Is there anyone with strong moments or parts in the play that stood out to you? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just really like I think like it was kind of this, you're taken around through all of these sort of like constant changing experiences and perspectives and stories, and then I just think like it didn't occur to me how much I appreciated like them sitting in that at the table doing the interview until that part ended. And then the show was over, because it really felt like this whirlwind of feelings and emotion, and then there was sort of a calm, just, I don't know, I felt that, like I don't want my queerness to be a huge deal. And I felt like it really brought that home for me at the very end. Like, it's important, but that's just because of what we have to push back against.
Totally. Thank you for sharing. Let's go with that.
The part, first of all, it was incredible, the entire thing was incredible, but the part where you talked about the LDS church coming forth with the doctrine against LGBT people, saying there's between a man and a woman. I remember when they came forward and basically said that the children of gay members were excommunicated from the church. My boyfriend, his mother, 45 years old, was a member her entire life, and she was the last out of his family to leave the church because of that. And I remember the heartbreak and how hard it was for her, because she, you know, loves LGBT people and wanted to be an ally. And so that really resonated with me, because I remember feeling it through her and through my boyfriend.
Thank you for sharing. We'll do last one, then we'll do questions.
A strong moment that really stood out for me was the story of the person that went into their parents' room, because a lot of the members of the community had felt that just immediate fear. And getting those 2 seconds of relief was just really strong.
Thank you. We appreciate those acknowledgments of the work that we've done, and like lots of the people that were interviewed are like not up here right now, and those people probably appreciate those acknowledgments of things that they've shared as well. Is there any questions that people have for the cast about the process or anything? Yeah?
Going from reading the script to walking, how do you feel like you intensified the experience through movement being on stage?
Anybody?
Because these words are so powerful, I think it was great that we didn't just do a read-through, like that it was a standing read-through of the show, because for me personally, imagery is very important to me to understand things, and so I thought it was really important while we were and I thought it was great how much we used imagery to show how these people were feeling as well as their words.
Yeah.
Did any of the cast members, you guys ever meet any of the people you were portraying?
I was one of the people interviewed. I did say a few of my own stories, so
The interviews were, because of the Institutional Review Board, are anonymous technically, so because they chose to self-disclose, that is technically allowed, but they are not. I and the interviewers are the only people who know specifically who the people were, maybe unless there's some kind of specific phrasing or something, or a specific topic that's relatable to one person, they might be able to pick it out, but that's part of the process was anonymizing.
So were you able to listen to the interviews yourselves, or did you just get a hard script and work with that as the actors?
Yeah, we got a hard script. So the researchers and Jake went and they took the interviews and they put it in a script, and we got the first draft of the script that day. But some of them, especially for those who were interviewed, you could kind of say, oh, I remember something like that coming out of my mouth. Hello again.
One or two more questions? Yeah.
Question for both you and the cast. First, I really would like to commend your bravery for creating this piece. My question is, do you see this expanding into maybe a full-length show? And if so, would all of you continue to participate in it?
So, with the process, I think that would be really, really cool, and there's obviously, the interviews ranged from 20 minutes long to almost an hour long, and there were 10 of them, so there's way more stuff that we we just really focused this around certain points and things like that. I think it would be really cool and worthwhile to do something like that. For this specific one, we tried to follow a framework of working with a small group of people for a short amount of time to see what could come out of that, but I think personally that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd do it.
Just saying.
Last question. Yeah.
Forgive me if this is maybe too personal, but is there a part maybe when you were reading the script or when you first started performing, practicing, that really stood out to you, resonated with you?
I can say something on that. When we were finishing up blocking, and this was the first time we were really sitting down with that final monologue, I've been going through a really hard time with coming out to my personal loved ones. And so reading that and I'm in a new environment this year and I'm way more comfortable in this environment than I have been in my other ones. So that really hit me. And so I was crying like a baby the first time we did it. But yeah, so this has been a great process for me to help process my own feelings in my own life.
I remember the first moment I had of oomph was when we were doing the read-through and we were just doing a round table because we hadn't assigned anything yet, and I got to say the line, "Who would I be willing to lose?" And I remember afterwards I had to sit not because I'd be don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And then we were blocking when we were we did a crush of mine obviously, and we were trying to figure out stuff, and when we first decided to grab the arms, I'm supposed to physically, but I physically recoiled because it just was so. It just I feel that just scene always just gets me because it's just such a visceral image, and even for me the feeling of holding it and then having to physically pull out of it, that was always
For me, when I first got the script, I was very grateful because I saw myself in almost every single scene and I could identify with it. Even if I didn't have the same experience or I didn't identify the same way, because I think a lot of our experiences as queer people are very similar even though they're different, and it is so important to share this because who knows who's sitting out there or who may watch it later who is struggling with these kinds of things, and they need to know that they have a voice, they deserve to have a voice, they deserve to be themselves, and they deserve to be loved.
really, really appreciate you coming to watch our show, and thank you. Goodbye.